Now, Phil, you absolutely can't reference a 17-year-old meme in 2 intros in a row. Energy decks for men! Energy! Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And a quick announcement before I get going. This video is going to air on Monday, August 26th, which is the day of the ban announcements, and it's presumably going to be a big one. Tomorrow, I will have a sort of ban reaction meta prediction video, and then the remainder of the videos for this week will be content where grief is legal, and hopefully where Psychic Frog is legal, and then it's like not legal anymore. Please. What's it, please? I have to record my videos quite a bit in advance to kind of keep my workflow going, so that's kind of what's happening here. So I apologize for some slightly dated content this week. New content coming soon. Funding for today's video comes from Aaron, who gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list, and I really want to explore Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride within the context of Legacy. I think these cards are incredibly strong together, and in the Boros video that I recorded for you all for last Thursday, we saw that we really needed some amount of disruption for combo, and we are going to have that today. We are going to have that covered today. This deck, I believe, got 3rd place in a Legacy challenge in the hand of Punishing Waterfalls, who has put a handful of brews onto this channel. And this is, I think, the first time Chthonian Nightmare is on the channel, maybe the 2nd time. This is a really neat endgame recursion engine that has energy synergies. So, when this ETBs, we get 3 energy, we pay X energy and sacrifice a creature to return this to our hand, and return target creature with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So this is a slightly different throwback to Recurring Nightmare. A very large difference here is that this has an ETB trigger, meaning that unlike Recurring Nightmare, this can be responded to. You can use a Disenchant, a Boseiju, whatever, before your opponent has the chance to activate this. And today we are hoping to go infinite with Warren Soultrader. We can pay a life and sacrifice a creature to get a treasure token. With Gravecrawler, that means we can pay a life to get infinite Gravecrawler ETBs and dies triggers. If we happen to have something that cares about creatures dying, we will kill our opponent. Marionette Apprentice is the next in a long line of Gravecrawler type effects that are going to cause our opponents to lose life. So the goal here is to go like 1, 2, 3, and we just goldfish our opponent. We sacrifice Gravecrawler, which triggers this because it's creature or artifact. Our opponent loses 1 life. We sack the treasure. Our opponent loses another life. We recast the Gravecrawler, and we kind of go on from there, meaning that we can bleed our opponent out as long as we're at about like 10 life or something like that. While Chthonian Nightmare is our primary way of going and grinding out matches, Knight Errant of Eos is the other way of doing that. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana value X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked it. Put the revealed cards into your hand and then shuffle. So, in a deck that is going wide with things like Ocelot Pride, this is often going to be a 1 mana draw 2 cards, which is relatively strong. We can kind of see the tech from other formats coming in here, including Spymaster's Vault, which can cause our creatures to connive. And this might not be a strong ability all of the time, but hopefully it is a good enough ability some of the time that it is worth putting into the deck. The sideboard is very tailored towards things you are expecting to face, with White Orchid Phantom being land destruction for the Eldrazi matchup, and most of the rest of the sideboard here is dedicated to fighting against the unfair things that we might not be able to race. The only thing that feels sketchy to me is Static Prison. I just like hate this fucking card. I don't think this card is particularly strong, but it uniquely answers everything at the cost of 1 mana, and hopefully this deck is killing quickly enough that the downside of Static Prison is not going to be realized most of the time. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump directly into some Magic here. Should you need some cards for the new and upcoming metagame, please consider checking out toamagic.com. Tales of Adventure has treated me well, both as a customer and as a sponsor. And if you use promo code ThrabenU, you save 5% on your order, and you always get free shipping as well. Let's battle. This is a weird looking hand. I have a turn 2 play. I don't have anything that goes to graveyard for this exactly. I think I just have stronger openings given that I have Guide of Souls and Who's He What's It in my deck. This hand does not really do anything. I'm gonna go to 5. Doing me dirty like this, huh? 4-card hand. Hand's insane. Keep Reno, get rid of Static Prison, get rid of a wastelandable land. How many lands are in this deck? 22? 20? Probably keep the second land then. Keep double Ocelot or Guide of Souls. Probably Guide of Souls. It's kind of cool that I don't feel dead. Goblin. Goblin Lackey. Well, I have a 1/2 booty creature and a first striker. So hopefully we don't just get got here. Sure. Basic Plains. Won't get wastelanded immediately. Play Guide of Souls. I haven't seen a legit Goblins deck in a long time. Now, if our opponent just plays the 2-mana removal Goblin here, they probably run away with this game. Well, they didn't. I don't think I win this game without this creature. I'm going to take the hit and hope that it's not a Muxus. Like, we're on a mold of 4. Fuck. Okay, I mean, it's not a Muxus, but this is really fucking bad. So I will play the Ocelot Pride. I will gain some life. Gain some energy. Attack doesn't really make sense. I'll pass the turn. I'll make my friend at the end of turn. Gain some energy. I think this broadside is just going to eat me alive. Yeah. That's a funny looking removal spell is what that is. I imagine before blocks. Oh, I do get to go to blocks. I don't think I can let this connect. And multi-blocking is not going to be profitable with broadside around. Realistically, though, I'm just not going to win. Multi 4 plus turn, was that turn 2 broadside? With the Hordemaster synergy as well. Yeah. Getting a Skirk Prospector. My creature's dead. Prospector's around. So much for finding a Surveil land at end of turn. Well, there it is. A little late. I think I'm going to stop pretending that I am in this game. So, about the only thing that I can realistically sideboard is the Phantom. It's not really land destruction here. My opponent is going to have a few basics, so I think I am just running back the game 1 deck and hoping not to mulligan into oblivion here. I don't think this hand is good. It's very slow. I have a single creature. I have an ETB tapped land. If I use my turn 2 to do this rather than doing something else, I'm not getting further ahead. Wasteland eats me alive. Vile Port eats me alive if my opponent is doing something like that. This is fine, but awkward. Yeah? I think yeah. It's a little awkward that I need to get a scrub land here to make this land come into play untapped. Now, my opponent might not want to wasteland me when I am ahead on board, but they very well could. Alright, cool. Gravecrawler. Well, we're starting to get somewhere. So, yeah. We're going to make a friend here for the bonus energy. Bonus body is nice. Oh, yikes. is nice for Convoke, sure. So I get a trigger there, do this, get my 1 energy. I wasn't playing around Pyrokinesis. I was giving my opponent options for a Tar Fire. I guess I should have played around Pyrokinesis instead by attacking first. Lackey, you got it. I think I am into This can't block, which is like not the best. I'm going to try to keep my opponent from potentially playing a black card here, or a 3-mana card that matters like Bombardiers. I imagine no attack here. Ooh, no land drop? Fantastic. Ooh. Oh, that's dirty. Love that for me. Let's get a basic in case something weird happens. So, ping. So now we get to do this. All right. Reveal top 6. I get X or less 4 things convoked, so I can get both of these. Okay. Great. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power on board. Soon to be a lot more. My opponent has 1 power on board. Ooh. Yeah? I think I'm into this. Make my friend. I think we'll Pride. And 1, 2, 3. What is this? Total mana value. No. X is the number of creatures, so this is going to be 5. So I don't want you to die in combat, I guess. And I guess I'll protect you. Another Ocelot Pride and a Bowmasters. Fantastic. Punchies. Punchies. And I imagine that my opponent just dies in combat next turn. Well, we went kind of wild pretty quickly there. Yeah. Yeah. So and I could have done this better, where my opponent doesn't get a trigger. It doesn't really matter. We have such a wealth of resources here. But the way to play that turn is Swords to Plowshares this creature, because this is a dies, and then the Goblin is a 1/1, and I ping that with Bowmasters. So we can tighten up around the edges here. My opening hand is not particularly strong here. Maybe having something that walls Goblin Lackey is good enough. I am not the biggest fan of this hand. I don't know if it's worth mulliganing, but I think this is such a Goblin Lackey relevant matchup that I just do this. So my opponent plays a Horde Master, and it looks like they're playing those in multiple. This doesn't stop it. Neither does this. They both eat it to a removal spell. This works better if I play it first. So let's get our basic. Drop Guide of Souls and hope that the worst doesn't happen. Here we go. Okay, that's fine. Okay. This is looking okay. I can wall this. So I Ocelot Pride, gain my energy. I think I Wasteland still. My opponent has a way to make energy in a meaningful way, but to make mana in a meaningful way, but it comes at a real cost. And we're just hoping no Lord here. I will need a little something off the top still. Well, that's not a Lord, but it sure does suck. So I think I need to block with everything. That doesn't feel great. Otherwise, I think this thing just tears me apart. So my opponent can do something like trade Skirk Prospector or one of my creatures, and then I trade with the broadside. So this can be essentially a 2-for-2, 2 of my cards for 2 of my opponent's cards, but it leaves them with a Goblin Lackey. I need to top deck a castable creature here. That is not a castable creature. Unfortunate. So playing the Nightmare naked does not do a ton. I think I am just going to Surveil. Huh? Yeah? I guess this is a zombie, so I can put that into my graveyard. And now we just see how bad the Goblin Lackey hit is. My opponent doesn't have that many cards, so fingers crossed. Fuck, they have cards. How bad? Bad. That is a lord and a matron. The matron sets up something bad for next turn. Polluted Delta. Too much land here. So I will throw out my creature and pass the turn. I, in theory, wall my opponent's stuff other than the ringleader here. Alright. So my opponent can turn this into removal potentially, or more card advantage. They're going for a broadside. Sure. Okay, what exactly is connive? Draw X cards, discard X cards, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. Got it. So, cast a Gravecrawler, cast a Chthonian Nightmare, get some energy. I can sacrifice Gravecrawler to get Guide of Souls. Yeah. Now, save this for next turn, I guess. Sack this. Do Swamp. Cast Gravecrawler. I now can gain infinite energy, because I just get to do this loop. This is life neutral, but energy positive. My opponent says MH3 is destroying legacy. I'm going to let you concede to this that doesn't actually kill you. Yeah, so I don't kill my opponent here. I make a mana, use a mana, make a mana, stay the same on life. I gain infinite energy, but I don't have a kill here. So my opponent conceded when they have the superior board. Yep. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. I think this player plays goblins as well. That would be weird. Just 2 straight up rounds of goblins in a row in this metagame. Yeah, it's another fucking goblin, man. Wild. We'll lead on the Ocelot Pride off a basic land. The basic's a little weird because, like, we do have a ton of black mana, but I don't really want to open up Wasteland. Plus, I think I am playing one of these 2 cards in the next turn cycle most of the time. My opponent says, watch out, I have a combined 0-14 record against the Eternal Glory pod. You've got a chance today, friend. My deck is weird. Alright, Vial will tick up. Tavern on Goblin. Munitions Expert, that's the name of it. So I just get... My plan was hold up Bowmasters, but I just kill next turn if I play Marionette Apprentice and my opponent doesn't have removal, right? So Fabricate, make the friend. Next turn, play Warren's Soultrader, sack the Servo, play Gravecrawler, win. Fuck, winning is good. Alright, let's try to win. Servo. And pass. Alright, no end of turn lackey, which is good. Got a green splash. Is this food chain goblins? Or is that maybe a... Oh, it's a goblin pile driver. What a throwback. Alright. Fetch. We'll grab a black basic. We'll grab a scrubland. Grab a scrubland. Play this. Sacrifice the Servo, which does trigger this. Will always yield. Drain my opponent for 1. We'll then play Gravecrawler. Sacking the treasure pings my opponent for 1. And my opponent is dead if they do not have interaction. Alright, we continue to bully our opponent. So last round we didn't sideboard. This round I don't think anything has changed here. My opponent has a few more non-basics than last time around, but I don't know that I want to mess with any of this. You could, I suppose, make an argument that doing something like a Thoughtseize instead of a Chthonian Nightmare on the draw is reasonable to try to interact with some of the worst case Goblin Lackey when I don't have one of my 21 drops to answer it, but I don't know that I'm going to do that. 20 seems like enough answers to Goblin Lackey. I think the difference between 20 and 22 answers there is very small. I am going to hope that this is good enough. I have turn 1 white mana for something like a Lackey if that happens. And it does. Alright, yeah. And I don't think I'm going to play Guide of Souls here. Goblin Lackey has been the top tier predator of many formats in over many periods of time of Magic's history. We're not fucking around with that card. We're not leaving that in play to just eat a pyrokinesis and be sad pandas. White draw off the top would be fantastic. That's fine too. This lets me get something in play. We have a theoretical combo curve out available to us. More lands off the top would be great, but we are a 20 land deck, so we should not necessarily expect it. Ooh. What's this? Orcish Bowmaster, question mark? Send it. It requires the 3rd mana? Or Munitions Expert? And the Rishadan Port is just kind of throwing me off. That's fine. Alright, goodbye, Gravecrawler. Hello, Marionette Apprentice. We'll make a friend. Now, my opponent did aggressively get the Taiga rather than another Badlands, so the green matters. I don't remember if I finished this thought earlier, but there's some of the goblins that have a green kicker that allows them to get rid of artifacts and enchantments. Tin Street Hooligan, for example. Then there's another 3 mana one. Opponent says they're lagging a bit. No worries. I lose my Apprentice. That's fine. The Rishadan Port is more annoying than anything else, to be honest. We'll see which land my opponent taps down. I believe Swamp is correct on this board. Opponent agrees. No land off the top. I will be passing the turn. I have my theoretical kill, but I might not be able to actually utilize it. Matron? This is Matron in a way that is not allowing them to Rishadan Port me? Don't know how I feel about that. But whatever I play theoretically dies. I can play Apprentice and get another Servo, and that gums up the board. That's okay. I can play the Nightmare. If I do that, my Servo token just dies. But then I get Guide of Souls the following turn. Forcing the removal here seems okay. We're playing this to turn this into a dual land. Not with the expectation that I get to sack something immediately. There's the removal spell. Goodbye. And we get our energy. So a Lord is scary. Bombardiers is scary. Land Muxus is scary. Pile Driver is a thing. This gets big, but it is chump blockable. Oh, fuck. No mana for me. I expect that means game over for me. 2, 4, well, I'll count each one of these as 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 damage. Yeah, that's fine. We got choked on mana. We'll whack the submit button, try again. Loss might have been my fault for not mulliganing that one. I don't know that I throw this back. It has the same mana problem as the last hand, but it has a creature. It has double removal spell. I'm not losing to Goblin Lackey. I go wide very quickly for Knight Errant of Eos. It is a Vial. That's fine. Land is cool. I'll bash in for my 1. 19. There's my life gain for this. So then land drop. We get the Nightmare going for later. And now it becomes less detrimental if I end up losing the Ocelot Pride. I just bring it right back by sacrificing the cat token. Port is fine. That's okay. So this is 4 towards this. So we're going to go to combat and attack and just leave up Swords to Plowshares for right now. Ooh. Goblin Lackey. I'm just going to Swords that and not give my opponent a chance to block. As much as I want to think that they are going to forget the first strike there, I don't really want to mess around with that. Did I just tap a Scrubland or did I tap a Basic Plains? If I tapped a Basic Plains, I should have tapped Scrubland. Just not have this be wastelandable on my opponent's turn cycle. Third land drop. Another Vial is not what my opponent is looking for here. We'll float mana this time. Now we're starting to get to the portion of the game where things might actually happen. Static Prison. I could do that on that Vial. If I do that, I'm not playing Knight Errant of Eos this turn, I guess. I think that's fine. So this is purely a tempo play while I'm ahead on board. Nice. Send in for 3. 15. Make my friend. Let's just yield to that. Now we still are in range of Pyrokinesis, just wiping my board. Knight Errant of Eos changes that. I can pay for Static Prison for a little while. I don't really need to keep it because, like, my opponent getting the Vial back with 0 counters is kind of whatever. Sure. Float mana. Gravecrawler. Yeah, I'll keep this. I think I don't need to gain this life this turn. I think we're just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. This puts me outside of range of a single Pyrokinesis really messing up my whole game. We only hit a Gravecrawler here. I need to get this into play and I just win. I think I pass with Swords to Plowshares available rather than playing Gravecrawler. 5th mana. For sure. Goblin Matron. You've got it. Or Muxus. Okay. Need a land. That's fine. I'm not going to fire that removal off here. I'll float the mana anyway in case opponent's going to get cute with this. There's another Gravecrawler. Yeah, I can pay the energy. That's fine. Now I think I am rumbling. Send them. There's a chump block. That's hopefully okay. Opponent's at 10. Now I can put a Gravecrawler into play. And I have Swords to Plowshares for the Muxus. Masked Vandal. I see. A creature card from your graveyard specifically. Well, that's happening. It's not doing a ton right now, specifically. The fear is the Muxus. There's a very good chance my opponent just has the land for it. Yep. Now, they need to effectively kill me this turn through Swords to Plowshares, or I just combo them off. Because I'm not getting ported anymore. Sure. Oh. Wow. That's rough. Alright. Oh, I guess I don't have a Marionette Master. We'll figure it out. Yeah. So, land drop. I guess Gravecrawler first. Then Warren Soultrader. Attacks are fine with the things that can reasonably attack. That's you. And I guess you can attack. If you get blocked, I will just convert you into a treasure. Yeah. Alright, you do get blocked. I will sack Gravecrawler. Make my treasure. Ooh, we've got something else. Exile target player's graveyard. Sure. 10. I will use the treasure to play Gravecrawler. Yeah, without the Nightmare, I can't, like, loop this, which was kind of my plan. So I guess my opponent has a chance to top deck another Muxus-style card. I might just be able to turn everything sideways on my next turn and kill them, though. A Polluted Delta, not super strong. I'm fine paying the energy. Alright, am I just shoving everything? My opponent could have, I guess, up to 6 blockers in the worst case scenario. Opponent is not porting me, which could mean hard cast Pyrokinesis. That would be rough. I think I'm going to try shoving. Pyrokinesis with a lot of 1 targets. I don't really need the treasures right now. I have plenty of mana for Gravecrawler stuff if that happens. I think I'm just going to let those go. I think this always has to go here. I think leaving this around is just horrifying. I were the opponent, I would probably block, 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 and do this in a way where none of the zombies remain in play. And then I can't bring them back from graveyard. Alright. So this is lethal on board for next turn. Now, my opponent, most of the time, will produce a blocker. Removal spells on my end are pretty good. We have gotten the GGs from my opponent. I wonder if they could have done pyrokinesis differently and come out ahead there. If they have nothing else in hand except for something like lands, the answer is certainly no. But we got over the line there. GG's. Basic lands are great, but sometimes you end up with hands that look like this one. I'm not willing to keep this one. No. No. 5. This is fine. I'm going to keep this getting rid of a static prison. Can I have X where X is the number of creatures that died this turn? Not super expecting creatures to die. The raw colored source might just be better than Aether Hub right now, though. We have basic lands on the other side of the battlefield into ThrabenU. So I don't have the ability to check that as of right now. I don't have any sort of card. Well, when am I playing that? I think it's turn 3. I think turn 3 is the answer. We will get our basic, play our cat, and hope that we don't eat like a Bowmaster here, which would be very not good. Second basic land for our opponent. Don't you Bowmaster me. I said don't, like, really nicely. No blocks, obviously. It flies. Oh, shit! Ninjas! Okay. Sure. So, our plan has changed a little bit. We'll send in for our 1. Opponent goes to 17. I get to play one of my 2 cards around days, and honestly, I think the Guide of Souls is more important to resolve. Guide of Souls plus Ocelot Pride pops off really hard. This one's going to be a non-basic land. I want it for white this turn, but black for the vault. And then we are going to try to put the ninja in prison. There's the days. And again, I think the Guide of Souls in play is more important because it lets us do this. And we can just throw a cat under this Vidalcan ninja every turn. I am not interested in the double block. Like that, we can just do that. That is fine. Fatal Push, sure. ThrabenU will be the follow-up, presumably. Oh, shit, it is a Dismember. Cool. We're a Gravecrawler away from being infinite. I am going to play my 3/3 here. That is more expensive. This is Dazable, the other one isn't. But I have a better chance at double spelling next turn if I hold this one in hand. Sheoldred's Edict. Alright, so my opponent gets to draw their card. Not great for me. When the tempo deck has a recursive source of card advantage, the tempo deck starts winning. Here is what I was talking about with the double spelling, though. So the next question is, if this resolves, which mode do I choose? The mode that gives the additional energy and allows this ability, the attacking ability, to work, or do I like make multiple bodies, stack up one body, so I have a 2/3? Okay, cool. So the top of the deck needs to treat us well. Ocelot Pride would be cool. Anything that stops this ninja from attacking would be cool. Mana that is not spent on advancing the board is generally positive for us right now. Mulligan to 5 this game? What do we mulligan to? I started this one on 5. And this is the point of the game where I'm feeling it. Like, I'm behind a couple of cards and my opponent has drawn a few additional cards. Well, that's worth a life. Don't have enough energy for this. My attack doesn't get through. I'll just pass the turn. We are still a Chthonian Nightmare away from breaking this game open, though, right? Like, I play Chthonian Nightmare, I sack Gravecrawler, get Soultrader, replay Gravecrawler, get back Marionette Apprentice, sack Marionette Apprentice, Bob's your uncle, Psychic Frog. Yeah. I would like to cast that card. Stop it! I have things I want to do. So my attacks don't really work here. Pass turn. Now my opponent starts netting 2 cards every turn. Life's bad. Oh, so my opponent is not giving Psychic Frog flying. That is giving me the option to block. Is that correct? Probably not. But I still just hate it. Sorry, one moment. Sorry, heard a weird noise. I think it was a delivery person though, so we figured it out. And we're just passing the turn. Yeah. Not technically dead yet. Alright. We are just solidly out-tempoed here, and I'm gonna get hit by another ninja this turn. Again, Gravecrawler can't block. It is another Ingenious Infiltrator, and in case you aren't aware, this is whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage. So each one of these is going to trigger twice, meaning my opponent is going to draw 5 cards from this combat step. So with all those cards being discarded, that is lethal damage. Our sideboard is heavily, heavily geared towards fighting very specific things. I don't know that we are sideboarding here. Yeah, I think this is the 3rd round in a row where I am just not sideboarding. I'm winning games, but I have little ability to adjust my deck for fair matchups. Not enough mana. I have colored mana exactly once. We'll go to 5. Oh my god. I think at this point I keep. I don't think the Bowmasters are particularly strong in the beginning of the game. I might just keep my combo potential. I don't know, like I could throw away the combo potential to just play Guide of Souls double Bowmasters and punish my opponent for drawing cards. The Bowmasters isn't going to kill most of my opponent's stuff. Am I going to get to 3 lands this game? I might not, in which case the Gravecrawler is not good. I could play this way as well. Let's do that. This doesn't leave me with an ideal turn 2 in many cases. I'm going to be very, wow. I'm going to be very vulnerable to daze, land drop, and pass. That enters untapped, all pass. No end of turn brainstorm. Psychic Frog. You've got it. I guess while that's on the stack, let's just fire off this bad boy. Eat a daze. That's one thing I already knew that was going to be good against us. Gravecrawler. Let's not mess around with this. Let's swords it. I'll drop the Gravecrawler. We're not playing around days right now. We don't have to. And we'll see if my opponent has a play for this turn. Otherwise, we are just going to go ahead and bash in with Gravecrawler. Yeah. 18. Got Bowmaster available. It is a Bowmaster of my opponent's own. Sure. You may kill my Gravecrawler. I will kill your Bowmaster. We want to kill the Bowmaster over the token. We don't want the Bowmaster to go back to hand. Cool. I will trade Orc Army token for Orc Army token given the opportunity to. But we're definitely feeling our mulligan here. Another Bowmaster would be devastating. My opponent can ping this, grow that to a 2/2. Absolutely dominate combat. I'm going to go for a Surveil land here. Shadowy Backstreet. No. Do not want more land here. That's almost good. I do not believe that my opponent has Bowmaster. Would have been very good to use it on their own turn, so I'm going to assume that's safe. Pass the turn. Brazen Borrower. Yep. That's a flyer. I couldn't block that anyway. We need our opponent to not have a ninja. Do you have it? They do. Now, there is some plus side here. Because my opponent draws a card. And then I ping their face. I get a second creature here. And the second body makes this Knight Errant of Eos castable. Ooh. Again, this is dazable and whatnot. Can't really afford to play around that, though. We'll just cast another next turn if this doesn't work. If this works, this walls the Infiltrator. F. So we're set up to take 2 damage, increase the size of our Orc Army token. Our removal spell on Bowmaster is great. Future counterspells from my opponent are great. I don't have enough I don't have enough pressure on board where these cantrips are super, super punished. We're going face. Got a Surveil land. Gunking an Ornithopter that's not super strong here. Feels like a murderous cut for my Bowmasters. I'm correct. Most of my draws are pretty reasonable here. Sure. Like, most of my draws allow me to either play a creature or put Knight Errant of Eos into play. Warren Soultrader. So I can play Warren Soultrader, sack the Orc Army token, turn it into Gravecrawler. We don't have a way to drain my opponent. I'm going to put this into play. Yeah. Cool. We're probably just attacking for 2 here. Yeah. This is going to be close. It is a very scary game. Happy to see my opponent with more lands. Unhappy to see that. That sets me back from casting the Knight Captain. When I get to draw another card. I'm on the wrong side of the clock at this point, especially if this creature ends up coming down. A Psychic Frog. That's real good. I am so very close here. So yeah. Not Daze. Pass turn. I could attack, try to get my opponent to dump a card into Psychic Frog, and then turn this into Gravecrawler. That ends up costing me a life. That's trading a life for 1 card in their hand. Alright, is Psychic Frog going to fly? Psychic Frog is not going to fly. Bowmasters is kind of rough here if I do obvious blocks. I think I'm going to do obvious blocks, though. Alright. My opponent discards their card. Fuck, it's Bowmasters. Yeah. Yep. So I am going to successfully kill this creature. I'll sack this Orc Army token. That'll let me get a Gravecrawler. My opponent doesn't successfully draw any cards, but they just have so much power here. Fucking stop drawing these. Ah. So, yeah. And yeah. I have so many good draws here. Like, even land is just great. Yep. Now, my Gravecrawlers can't block. So I am taking at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 damage. Are you discarding? Oh, there's a ninja. Sure. Ninja off the top is very bad. Yeah. So my opponent pings me. That grows this as well. Drawing 2. I don't think I can win from here. Let's save our treasure here. Nightmare. Huh. Does that win? Cast Nightmare. Am I mana short of this? What if I get Warren's Soultrader? Cast Nightmare. Sack a Gravecrawler. So I get to play Chthonian Nightmare twice based on my mana. I have 2 life, so I can activate Warren's Soultrader once. I get Guide of Souls. Sack this. Get Guide of Souls. Sack this. I have no mana. Get Warren's Soultrader. That Guide of Souls. Get Gravecrawler. Fuck. Yeah, I need 1 more mana to just cast a Gravecrawler. Alright, let's make sure I'm not wrong. So I do this. Get 3 energy. Oh, wait, what if I do Soultrader first? So get Soultrader. Then I have 3 total mana. Get Soultrader. Yeah, I'm just short. So recast. Daze gets me here. Okay. So do this. Target Warren Soultrader. Sacrifice Gravecrawler. Oh, it was interaction. Eldritch Edict. Sure. Now I end up with this creature and nothing else to do. I'm dead in the air. It feels like I was just short in every capacity just by a little bit. Was that one a mold of 5? I think that one was a mold of 5. Regardless, GG's. Okay, I don't love my opening hand. We're on the draw versus Eldrazi. I have a couple of removal spells here. My Bowmasters are very bad in the matchup, though, unfortunately. I'm going to try to get my Shadowy Backstreet out of play immediately. I think I'm looking for other things here. I now have 3 removal spells in my hand. I would rather find things like lands to let me multi-spell. Why did my opponent keep their hand? I think I am playing Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, we're gonna win this one in all likelihood because my opponent is not playing Magic and we are. Scrubland? Sowing Mycospawn is a thing. We're hoping our opponent never gets there. I have weird mana requirements right now. So ping you. Sure. That's weird. That's really weird. I think I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and just put a lot of power into play. Gravecrawler, Guide of Souls. We'll just treat that as a draw 2. Sometimes my opponent has the absolute nuts and they top deck a soul land, play a Sowing Mycospawn. Yeah, my opponent played 0 spells. Their hand was a mulligan. Alright, so we know that White Orchid Phantom is specifically for this matchup. What is my worst card here? Probably Orcish Bowmasters. We haven't seen my opponent's exact build. If my opponent is on the more aggressive end, this can help against some of the It That Heralds the End type stuff. I think a lot of the times I'm going to stall out my opponent and eventually win via combo. This could be a matchup where we end up seeing like literal 50 permanents on the battlefield from something like an Ocelot Pride. My hand is okay. It's not better than okay. Static Prison is not the best card, but hopefully Static Prison taking a creature out of the way for a couple of turns is enough time for my draw to come together and become a little bit stronger. Thought Not Seer could... Oh, it's Grim Monolith. Sure. Well, I could Static Prison that. Once at 19. My opponent didn't have something good to do with 4 mana. They have something good to do with 7 mana, presumably. Well, I guess we'll prison that. Get out. It's temporary timeout. We make a cat. The issue is that sometimes my opponent just like makes another land drop and can play a decent sized card this turn anyway. Alright, no, my opponent's going real big. I will pay to prevent that. So, I in theory would like to gain life. I don't know that that's really the most important thing. I have the Nightmare that I can use for Static Prison. I'm very interested in doing this. And we're going to go Yah, and then Yah. And then sometimes I can also do something like play a Guide of Souls here, or a Gravecrawler here. It's a shame a decent number of those cards were quite strong. We'll fetch a Scrubland, play a Gravecrawler. We are not well suited to beating something like an All Is Dust if my opponent's build is going in that direction. We're hoping to use Knight Errant of Eos to find a land destruction spell, Knight of the White Orchid, Spirit of the White Orchid. Ozilek's Command. So they are making mana. 5 cards on bottom. There's a Sowing Mycospawn. It is kicked, so I'm going to lose 2 lands from this exchange in all likelihood. There's a Cradle. I'm only losing 1 land immediately. There could be another one. There's an All Is Dust. Okay, yep. So, that is just a touch too late. We'll use it to take out the Eye of Ugin still. Yeah. Now, notably, my opponent did not have anything to do with 7 mana on their turn, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My opponent either has colored spells in hand, or very large things, or lands. It is another Sowing Mycospawn. I lose a basic. A new Eye of Ugin appears. Wait, yep, I mean, I'm taking that hit. My creature's smaller. I'm basically dead here. Warren Soultrader. I've got Gravecrawler. I don't have something else to do with it. That's just going to graveyard. That's not enough. I'm going to concede here. We just kind of got run over. So my opponent is not aggro. My opponent has a board wipe for every single one of my permanents. I probably need to be able to Thoughtseize that. All is Dust kind of wrecks my deck. This is in theory good after an All is Dust, but I don't think it's super castable a good portion of the time. Wasteland good. Swords okay. I don't really think this has a plan to win though. I think my best chance to win is turn 1 card, turn 2 card, plus Wasteland. Don't think this does that. This does that. This is pretty much the dream hand. We'll get rid of Gravecrawler here. We're going to start on a basic. Basic plane. Ocelot Pride and pass. Most of the time, my opponent will not have a meaningful turn 1 play. So we will go to Punchies. Punchies for 1. Yeah. 19. Play an Ocelot Pride. We are going to take the Wasteland on the land. I get 2 cats here immediately. This goes wide very, very quickly. It doesn't matter that I am blowing up a worse land. And so presumably my opponent is not going to have a good play again. We will attack for 4. Our opponent to 17, then 15. Do I have another basic plains? I do. Sometimes this is a surveil land, though. Sometimes this is a surveil land, though. We are playing this out for points of power, more so than as effective land destruction, because my opponent is going to replace this with a basic of some kind. Get 2 more cats. How are we doing on the City's Blessing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I will have the City's Blessing next turn. Wasteland's fine. Grim Monolith is in theory fine. Talisman is fine. Grim Monolith is fine. There's more. Worn Power Stone. Sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Soul Land could be 6, 7 next turn. Send it. So that's 7. This is very lethal next turn. I think I just put this into play. That gives me the City's Blessing for Ocelot Pride. I'm going wide of just about any creature my opponent can play. I just want to save this for a potential post-board wipe situation. Alright. Alright, so my opponent is, I guess, going to do a giant Kozilek's command? Sure. Okay, they're just dead. That's fine. I was going to do math. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can block 5 cats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, they were still very dead if they had Kozilek's command. Yeah, no, we goldfished relatively quickly here. GG's. Final round. No lands. Easy mulligan. This will be a reasonable 5. I'm going to keep this. I don't think I'm keeping Wasteland here. I think I'm going to keep 2 lands and a relatively high density of spells for a 5-card hand. Our opponent says hello. So we have done well today with a bunch of 5-card hands. This isn't necessarily like Ocelot Pride, Spiral Out of Control immediately or anything. It's hopefully reasonable. I think it falls apart pretty quickly if our opponent has interaction for us, which they might not. Just ship in for 1 here. Opponent's at 19. I'm going to just pass the turn with Bowmaster available. I don't know what sort of Urza's Saga deck my opponent is yet. Like, I don't know if this is Ancient Tomb gaming or if this is like blue combo gaming. Now I know. We are going to keep pressure up. Grab the basic, I think. Play Bowboy. We have second Bowboy for if my opponent wants to try to ambush me in combat. Just yield to all energy generating abilities and get that energy and life. Target non-land permanent. I am thinking about whether or not I want to use the Guide of Souls ability. I think I want to make this Bowmaster fly. Then my opponent does not have any good blocks. And I just static prison their creature later. So yeah, there's our third energy. Ping. Send them. Trigger. Yes. Do that on Bowmasters. My opponent is already at 11. Soon to be 9. Soon to be 7. Now, my opponent could find something like a Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear is becoming less common in Game 1 scenarios. Manifold Key. Sure. Okay. Mystic Forge, Karn, One Ring nonsense. Can do some stuff. Opponent does have to be careful about tapping Ancient Tomb. Is a glaring Flushraker. I'm not answering that immediately. Ozilek's command is rough. So my opponent is going to get rid of that Bowmaster, make a bunch of spawns. The spawns are going to ping me. Ooh, opponent getting saucy. I don't know that I like that attack. Because now I'm going to have good attacks, whereas I didn't just a second ago. Yeah. So, yeah. Gain that energy. Yeah. Gunk the Fleshraker, I think. So I get to attack with everything here. Now, I have a Guide of Souls trigger. I think it is correct to do this. So let's force as much damage through as possible right now, with the goal of constraining our opponent's mana. Ooh. Untap on Basalt Monolith is quite good there. So, this flyer always kills my opponent next turn, so it doesn't matter if I give them this back. We're afraid of something like the One Ring that fogs. We're afraid of something like Karn into Ensnaring Bridge. These are fine. These don't kill me. There's the One Ring. That's a problem. Because my opponent will now get the Fleshraker back. Ooh, opponent's taking the Ancient Tomb damage. They're going to die to a Bowmaster. Oh, no. They're not going to take the Ancient Tomb damage. They played the One Ring. JK. Okay, what just happened? My opponent exiled my graveyard there and got rid of Bowmasters. I'll take that hit. That's fine. Bowmasters would be a cool top deck. Gravecrawler. Well, timing doesn't work out for me here. So, I will play Gravecrawler. I will gain my 2 energy. My opponent has fogged this turn successfully, so I will just pass. And we'll see if I'm dead. I'd say it's pretty close to 50-50. Ancient Tomb isn't online. The Manifold Keys are taxed between mana and card draw. I am at 13 life. Damage probably isn't getting through to me. 3 mana. Alright. So the keys were dedicated to mana. A Paradox Engine is the scariest thing that can happen from here. That's about the second scariest thing. So this could be Paradox Engine. It is. So now a 0-cost spell lets my opponent untap all of those permanents. Yeah. And this likely results in my death, because now my opponent just has mana and card draw. I'm going to fast forward. All right, that will do. Ended up just short there. Unfortunately, our sideboard doesn't have the Null Rod type things that we might like for this matchup. Deafening Silence is perfectly fine and good. Thoughtseize is actively good. White Orchid Phantom is probably good. Swords to Plowshares is generally weak. I can probably drop some amount of this endgame here, especially if my opponent is going to preemptively go after my graveyard. I think if we assemble the combo naturally cool. If we don't, we're fine with that. Mindbreak Trap is a card that I can play. I'm going to go down 2 of these. I think on the play, I'm not going to Mindbreak Trap, and on the draw, I'm going to pull the Knight Captains for them. Yeah, this is fine. So, turn 1 cat. Last turn. Soul Land, into Monolith, into Voltaic Key, untappy, retappy, Karn, sure, that's not great. So, these don't untap. If my opponent does not have a land, they don't get to Voltaic Key, get additional mana. I think I like the Wasteland gamble here. My opponent could have a basic land. If they do, it's a disaster. So, I think we are doing this, attacking the Karn, hoping that goes well. Sometimes my opponent could be playing an artifact land in their flex slots in the sideboard, and then they get to tutor themselves out of this situation. F. Yeah. In good news, we have a bunch of 1/1s in our deck, so we're not stone cold dead to some things, like Ensnaring Bridge. Mystic Forge. Yeah, you got it. Well, I can take that. So, I believe I am interested in attack. Karn the Great Creator. Notably, this has first strike. Alright, Karn is taking 2 here. Karn is killable. Karn plus doesn't do a lot, but the Karn is a problem later. My opponent needs another land to play Mystic Forge and pop off. White Orchid Phantoms are slow. I think I need to take the Mystic Forge. I just think I've got to do it. Okay. Yeah, I'm taking it and passing the turn. We end up with an extra body to better pressure the Karn next turn. I still have the same Orcish Bowmasters thing that I can do. My opponent can 2-turn untap some stuff in a meaningful way. Yep. Okay, so it's plus on nothing. They're not plussing on the Grim Monolith. Guide of Souls. That doesn't do a lot right now. So we're going to do the same thing. Going to attack the Karn again. We will attack it with all 3 things. It's just going to eat it. So Karn dies. Now I think we see if we can destroy this with White Orchid Phantom. It's very nice if we can. Fingers crossed. Oh shit, it worked! Get my cat. So opponent still has the Grim Monolith untapped. That can be 3, untap, or 5. That can put the Paradox Engine in play. We know there is a follow-up Karn coming. Fuck, it's right here. That's rough. We knew a good chunk of that hand, too. This is a lot of mana, plus the Karn. I imagine that I effectively lose the game here, but not literally oh my god! That's a hell of an unknown card. I don't know that I want to call those the perfects, but it seems real close. I'm going to give you Spark Notes versions from here, because I think it's probably going to be pretty boring. Oh, it's just a very large Kozilek's command. That is just going to be 14 direct damage. Yeah. I think at this point we can just nope. We still end up positive in the league, though, so that's nice. Okay, I like this deck list. It feels pretty good. I like this a lot better than the Boros Energy that we were messing around with. Having an infinite combo is pretty cool. Having sideboard coverage is nice. I don't think the sideboard is optimized yet. It felt like in many of my rounds I could not sideboard, and it feels like I am missing interaction versus critical permanent types. So for example, I only have static prisons as ways to answer something like artifacts or enchantments. I guess Null Rod is not really going to work since we are a Warren's Soultrader deck. I am not exactly sure how I want to adjust the sideboard. I don't know that I am perfectly happy with it, but generally speaking, this felt pretty powerful. Maybe it can't get away with playing 20 lands. Like, I mulliganed a lot in this league, frequently for not having enough mana. Like, there are 16 colored sources in the deck, and Aether Hub is not necessarily going to be reliable as a mana producer, as we saw in at least one round. So this gets the thumbs up. I like what this is doing here. The Nightmare didn't necessarily have the best league, and neither did the Knight Errant of Eos. Like, the thing that I like best about the league... the thing that I like best about this deck is that it threatens a couple of different strong opening lines, like Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, Ocelot Pride, Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, Bowmasters, the 1-2-3 curve of Gravecrawler, Apprentice, Soultrader. It has powerful draws, but I don't know that I am sold on this being the ultimate version of the deck list. Maybe you don't play some of these in the numbers that are here, but generally speaking, I like what this deck is throwing down, and should you need some energy cards, please consider checking out TOA Magic using promo code ThrabenU to save a bit on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!